Man, it is really nice that I could just have that start when the thing starts. Okay. So the greatest cinematic universe known to man has abruptly had the plug pulled out from it, even though it kind of died and was on the table for some years now.
I would say it's been on life support since Morbius.
Yeah, okay, now I don't know how Mike feels, but I'm going to say, and God knows this is not a high bar. Outside of the Venom movies, this is the best one they've done.
I'm I I'm actually torn whether or not this is worse than Madam Web. But we'll get to why.
Okay, so I went in wanting to watch this movie because of Aaron Taylor Johnson. And I left this movie liking it because of Aaron Taylor Johnson. Not loving it, not thinking it's great, not saying that I'm going on my way to buy a Blu-ray, but I liked it. So now, if you're going to say, hey, Brock, we're going to go watch a movie, am I going to suggest this? No. Am I going to openly say that I felt like I wasted my time? No. It was very bad. I also didn't want you to tell me you were also. I never tell anyone I'm Brianna. I just go live. I don't do things. You think I'm professional? How long have you been watching me stream for?
He's got a point.
I literally decided this. I was making the recording room and went, okay. You just clicked. We were gonna do it live. Oh, Mike. Okay, here now, everyone, come with me. I'm gonna bring you on a journey. So, I am going to describe this in the way that it was bad, yes. But walk with me here as I walk you through what we did with Madam Web. Maybe more of a lazily made movie. That I will agree 100% with. The movie is not trying anything uberly difficult and tried to be more than what a basic box standard film. Madam Web may have tried harder in a plot sense, but did that help the movie?
Mm-mm.
No. Morbius might have tried a little bit more, but did that help the movie?
Oh hell no.
Now, was Kraven a very basic bitch ass movie? Plot happens, guy gets kidnapped, go kill person. Did that hinder the film because it tried to be a basic bitch ass movie?
No, but
I'm not saying it made it Oscar worthy, but by that sense alone, by not trying to go for gold and dying on the finish line, it succeeded more than the other two did. Because its plot may have been bad, but it made sense.
I think therein lies the problem. This isn't a strikeout. It's a punt.
Yes. That, in a sense, though, made it better than the other two. Now, I'm going to quote Matt McMuscles here. For memorability factors, it is better for something to be a -2 than a 5.
Yes.
You're going to remember the movie more because of how fucking terrible it was versus if it was middle of the line. So, as far as being a movie, I would say this was marginally better than the other two. Are you going to remember it more because of that? No, you are not. Therein lies the problem. Are we wanting to remember these movies? Or are we wanting to enjoy them? Now, I know that is a weird thing to say because I'm a guy that watches Velocipaster and enjoys it. So my standards are slightly different than most people's. But
just to build off of what you said, I'm going to borrow something that I've repeated often in our last anime season review. If you're not going to be good, at least be funny.
yeah. Now, the 1, 2, 3 mother. Okay, that was clever as shit, and I'm not going to let anyone take that away. You cannot like that line, but that was still fit in the moment. So in this film, this made me realize something. Rhino did look terrible, but that's the problem. If you wanted a comic accurate Rhino, he wouldn't look too far off from what you got in this film. And I think a lot of people are upset about that.
It's the same thing with MODOK. Like, you want that in live action, this is what it looks like.
You ever wonder why I'm one of those people that staunchly defended the fact that they had a robotic Rhino, the Ultimates version, in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 2? Because realistic Rhino looks like that. It's bad because it was accurate. That Rhino is going to look terrible if you make it look like Rhino. There's a reason why he's always in animated movies and not in real movies. Because it looks bad. But one thing this movie made me realize, and this is, you know how a movie only gets attention and is slightly better and paid attention to because it's the thing, because it's the property.
Mm-hmm.
There's this game called Devil May Cry. It's a game series that I love very much. At one point, Capcom had a dumbass in charge and thought, if we Americanize the shit out of this, it looked terrible because it was a small rock guy. Umbreon. If it was a big rock guy, it wouldn't look any better. It'd still look like rocks. The problem is he looks like a rock monster. But then they did this reboot because they thought they'd make more money if it was Americanized. And it was bad. That game would be criticized less if it didn't have the Devil May Cry title on it.
I know where you're going with this.
It was a competent game that had good mechanics. Story was kind of meh. But outside of the Devil May Cry title, it would have took it from a 3 to an 8. There is no movie franchise, to my knowledge, that has an X. What do I want to say? In X, how do I want to put this? A person who was the son of a hunter who starts out taking out poachers and realized that humans are also evil. So I'm just going to be a contract hunter that takes out bad people. Is that anywhere?
I mean, it's kind of Dexter.
Kind of is a big stretch in that imagination. But like the actual idea of the son of a professional hunter that turns out hating poachers because it might have been what his dad did, and then realized, hey, not just poachers and all normal humans. Humans are just animals that are a little bit more sophisticated, and some of them are evil and some of them are not. Because he hated seeing innocent animals get poached. That's not a terrible idea.
Oh, no.
But you slapped it onto Kraven.
under better circumstances, i.e., not having to like force more comic booky elements into the movie, this could have been something decent.
Umbreon, they really didn't need to explain the list. He just had a list of bad people. There was nothing super special about it. He was a guy that hunted bad people, and he just happened to keep a list so that he could get after them eventually. I really don't think they needed to expand upon that more.
You know,
it's not quite the Oliver Queen level of my dad did the whatever. There's a reason to have this. It's like, no, contract killers have lists all the time. They just take care of them at points. But this in its core, much like what I said about Madam Web, there is a basis plotline in Madam Web, if done not in the shittily way that they did, could have made that movie an 8. For this exact reason, this movie could have been an 8 if they gave a shit. But they were more concentrated on the fact that it was Kraven and getting him to point B than just making the awesome idea that they had. And I'm noticing this with almost every movie that they make. They're more concentrated on making a movie about said character and then writing the plot around them where they somehow come up with a decent idea for a plot and then muddle the fuck out of it because it doesn't completely work for that character.
Yeah, that's these movies don't have to be bad. The problem is the people up top just get in their own way.
Umbreon, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I think you kind of read between the lines on that one from the trailer. That was an out of context line in the trailer. I think you kind of got that it was his dad's thing. I myself didn't see that, but that's just me. I think that was kind of read out of context. But
also, there's a scene in the trailer that's not anywhere in the movie. It's the one where Kraven has the vest, and he's got the spear with the fire.
Well, they also supposedly did reshoots after they delayed it.
Of course they did.
So that could very much well be it. But hey, if it got it up this much, I'm okay with that. So, like I was saying, and I was wrong at one point. I completely forgot. There is a version of him where he's kind of upgraded with like animal instincts, not to this degree, and that's another thing where, again, an actually like almost spiritual, kind of like Vixen, but actually in their bones and like their actual DNA, animalistic hunter that protects wildlife. If I would have gotten just like someone made their own superhero and just made original movies about it, that's not a terrible idea.
Oh no, not at all.
Also, we're gonna go off of powers and not being accurate about stuff. Hey Mike, who's the assassin? Tell me in your brain who the assassin was. And what his professional assassin name was.
The Foreigner.
The Foreigner. What is his power, Mike? Based on what you saw in the movie, what was his power?
His power is you're dead.
What does he do in the movie? When you watched it, what did it look like he was doing when he did his power? And then I'll tell you what the 7 different Wikipedia pages told me what his power is.
Oh, I already know the answer to this, but the best I can describe it on screen is, I don't know. He
looks like he stops time, doesn't it?
It seems like that's his power. They didn't really make it clear.
I wouldn't go Count Vertigo, Umbreon, because Count Vertigo actually does something to you physically, which this guy does, but it didn't show that in the movie. Because in comics, this guy can put you in a hypnotic trance from eye contact for 10 seconds. That is not what he did in that movie. He stopped time. Because he did not make eye contact with 9 people, including one who was behind another person he couldn't make eye contact with, and froze them solid.
Yeah, there's a world of difference between stopping time and his actual power, which is what you said, putting
he was pulling the world freaking Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is what he was doing. But so then we get him, which, my God, they pulled him clean out of their ass. I had no idea who this guy was, and I was expecting him to be some person I was blank, or I'm like, well, it's not even a visual crew on Beyond. It was a literal not version of his power. Because his power is hypnosis through eye contact. He froze people solid. A hypnotist has to tell you what to do or say stop. And it wasn't even through eye contact. It wasn't even a visual clue. It was just a straight up different power.
You know what this kind of reminds me of in terms of just not understanding a character? Do you remember Jonah Hex?
Oh God, I watched it once.
Yeah, they gave the main character some weird supernatural powers that he absolutely does not have in the comics.
Well, I had to make the cowboy exciting. But so, and then we have a pretty basic bitch storyline where again we get was it Miles Warren that was the doctor?
I think so, yeah.
He ends up being the Jackal, is who that is, because I knew that name sounded familiar, but I couldn't remember if he's the one that gave Rhino that suit. So in the comics, Miles Warren is the Jackal, and he's the guy that sicks the Punisher on Spider-Man. When we first meet the Punisher, this dude who looks like a green gargoyle bat creature is the one that convinces Punisher, no, he's evil. Go after him. That guy there, he's evil. But so we get this, and then he gets his powers from that, and then what again irritates me, they set up a thing that I wouldn't have minded watching.
Yeah.
Kraven versus the Chameleon, which I will admit, when you first see Aaron Taylor Johnson's head on other actor's body, that looked fucking weird. But when you see him walking away and you see him fading and switching in between, and you see the actual chameleon part, like the white face for a while, that looked cool.
It did.
Now, do I like the idea that he went and got this done to him instead of it being like a suit? I don't know.
It's kind of going back to what they did with the Foreigner, and like altering things for kind of superficial reasons. Like
Umbreon, that isn't part of the comics, though. They have actually done that, so they didn't just kind of make that up. They have done that before.
Yeah,
anyway, you were saying, Mike.
Oh yeah, about Chameleon. It does kind of feel a little bit unnecessary that they had him like undergo like a procedure to make him like become the Chameleon.
I get what you're saying, Umbreon.
Because what they were doing before, where he could just like imitate other people's voices, that was all.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Cool.
All you needed then was tech, like a face mask thing, to go through with it. Because I kind of blanked out, and like I forgot, 1,000% forgot about all that, and I'm like, oh, there's something with Kraven I'm forgetting. And then they're giving this dude a lot of screen time, and then we're going through it, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah, good, he's imitating voices, and like after he imitated the guy that kidnapped him, went, oh, I'm a moron. That's right, he's Chameleon. But yeah, that's like a really good idea. And then if they were going to have Kraven, who is shown to have where they were going to have the guy who can find anyone, Kraven, find the guy who can turn into anyone. That's a movie that could be really good.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of plotting that out and like taking their time and making a better movie, they thought Kraven first, plot second. Yes. Which is what the formula was for the mid-2000s I'm not even Spider-Man movies, superhero movies, period, except for Spider-Man until we got to 3. So they backtracked how superhero movies have been made, and it made it worse.
I think that's where my frustration with this movie lies. It really does feel like, and again, not really even in a fun way with like the Venom movies, which the sequels knew they were kind of like trashy, campy, fun, and they leaned into that. This movie kind of takes itself a little bit too seriously, and like the stuff that is kind of fun, like the actor who plays Rhino, what's his name?
No idea.
Alessandro Nivola. He looks like he's just having the time of his life, like just hamming it up.
He does, yeah.
Until he becomes the Rhino, and then just kind of becomes.
What's up, Phoenix? And here's the thing. I have this friend. I love him to death. He has been upset by the fact that they've never made the Rhino a main villain in the Spider-Man movie. Now, I'm not saying Roger was a good boy. I'm not saying that this is an example of why he isn't, because this version of Rhino was only Rhino for roughly 10 seconds. But Rhino is a guy that wants to smash things and get in fights. He's not a guy that comes up with plots and kidnaps people and does all this. He's a guy that wanted a suit and then smash things. There's a reason why he's always in the Sinister Six and is a person that Spider-Man deals with on the way to get to the real villain. He's a great side character. They're meant to have that, but he's not a guy you base the whole film around.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He doesn't work. He doesn't work as like the final boss. He's more like the dragon or just the muscle out of like a large ensemble.
And that is one thing that I will say that was falsely attributed in the trailer. I thought that the final boss was going to be Kraven's father.
That's what I thought too.
So when it ends up being the Rhino, I was very confused. It's
I mean,
like
at the end, towards the end of the movie, they kind of, like Russell Crowe's character kind of pulls the, oh, by the way, I'm the one who sent the Rhino after you.
but he sent the Rhino. Like the weird part is, he's like, I sent the Rhino after you because he was going to come after me. So it was just very weird. Like Rhino would have been a good side henchman on the way to just kill the father because the father isn't that tough of a guy. That's fine. Set up a group of people that Kraven has to get through first because you've shown that Kraven can take down anybody. So this would have been a thing where you could have had Rhino, Chameleon, maybe, I don't know, the Jackal. You could have had a bunch of people. Yeah, Umbreon, you're exactly right. That's exactly what he's supposed to be. But so you then get to this point where, yeah, sure, once we get to him, he's an invulnerable whatever, except for the tube thing, which he has to slide a pole into, which is one of those things where Spider-Man never really beats the shit out of Rhino. He gets him in situations where
He has to like depower him.
he has to depower him or shut him down, or like, I want to say it's in Spectacular Spider-Man where he traps him in like an underground thing and blows a bunch of steam pipes on him till he basically passes out from like heat exhaustion. There's a bunch of stuff where Rhino's so big you have to find creative ways to deal with him. Not because he's such an engulfing character that you base a whole movie around him. But yeah, and then again, why I wouldn't mind this version of a person in an action movie is because you get to see the cool shit that we got for roughly 4 minutes at the end, where he swings a bear trap and clamps it over someone's head, or is trapping people in the woods with their own traps and setting them off and killing them all. I would watch a series out of that person.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they kind of half-assed made a character I would like, but then only had him for a while, and then we had to shoehorn a bunch of Marvel shit onto him.
Can we also talk about the fact that this movie takes kind of forever to get started?
Kind of?
Like I don't do this often, but I actually checked like my phone to see how long the whole flashback.
So did I.
It's like basically like a quarter of the movie.
You were in that in quarters being generous. I swear to God, the plot didn't get going until we were 45 minutes in. I was so just like, we need to show you getting them from college. We need to show you getting on a hunt. Why is this taking so long? And then we finally get in, and we start getting into parts where I like, where he's like scaling up buildings, doing whatever, showing the whatever, all this and that and the other thing. And one, I have to look this up, is because I saw a thing that part of me, and I don't know if they did this on purpose. Do you remember in the original comics how Nightfall happens?
Vaguely, and I own all three of the Nightfall compilations.
As do I. They are all right here. Just so no one thinks I'm bullshitting. Yeah, all of them right here. All of them. We got them all right here. So the reason why I say that, the inciting event that gets us all off is Bane is in Santa Prisca, DC. Yeah, you're right, Umbreon. Yep, I mean that 100%. It's the storyline where Bane breaks Batman's back. I could go into a whole thing also about how people misinterpret how Bane took him down and how they bitch about Batman and planning and other things and how he actually beat him versus how people say he beat him. But that's a whole video for another time. Thank you. I literally wore this Venom shirt for the fact that this is going to be the last one, and like this is where it all started. Plus, this shirt is sick as fuck. So in this comic, Bane was placed in this prison as a child for crimes his father committed. And then eventually he's in this cell that like floods underwater, and he grows up in this environment and all this and that and the other thing. And that's not whatever. He ends up having this nightmares about this mythical bat creature, where eventually he's like, I need to find this person. I need to hunt this thing down. And then he sees Batman on TV. And he figures out, that is the thing I've been having nightmares about. That is the thing that I need to go and hunt down. Hey, Mike. Halfway, about 3/4 of the way through this movie, Kraven gets hit with an hallucinogen to make them imagine their worst fears. What is he afraid of?
Spiders. When I saw that scene, I didn't say this out loud. But I was thinking to myself, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
You're 100% right, Umbreon. That's what I get on that. But that's what I was getting at when I say that'd be a whole video. But yeah, like if these would have stayed, and he would have went somehow got Peter Parker on his list, which we're going to talk about some things if these rumors are true, which I've never got them based off of, where the plot line of that, in a dumb way, would have made sense. In a real dumb way, in the end, would have made sense. Because the rumor going around with everything that went on, everyone was under the impersonation that that Sony couldn't use Spider-Man in their movies because of some deal with Marvel. They couldn't. A recent article from Variety has come out, and if this is true, says that nope, they could do Spider-Man whenever they wanted, but apparently they don't think anyone would have believed him being Spider-Man in these other movies. Supposedly, they believed that once Venom was a skyrocketing success, that they didn't need to have Spider-Man in the movies because they didn't have him for Venom. And that the multiverse set certain grounds. And now the other rumor, and I don't know if this ever got substantiated, was that at one point, Ryan Coogler wanted to have Kraven in Black Panther.
I've heard that one before this article, that that there was maybe
Umbreon, it made $800 million. I would say that's pretty successful.
Yeah.
I would say skyrocket.
about the Kraven rumors, I don't remember when it was either for the first one or an original draft of the sequel, but I have heard rumors about Kraven showing up in a Black Panther movie.
Yep. And then supposedly after that, Kraven was going to be the original person that was the villain in No Way Home. Now, guy afraid of bats, sees a dude on TV, thinks he's a mythical bat creature he's got to take advantage of, got to take out. Kraven is afraid of spiders, likes to take down evil people, sees that a guy on TV is revealed to be a spider, and he finds out his real identity. I'm not saying 2 + 2 = 4, but I might be. You could have possibly, and that's another thing that irritates me about these movies. They go out of their way to go, for the most part, as far as main characters go, to be like, we're going to find an unbelievably good casting of this character and then trap it in this movie. Aaron Taylor Johnson was perfect for this role.
He was.
Can you imagine if they actually would have done Kraven's Last Hunt for No Way Home?
That would have been so good.
They could have had him tracking him down and doing some other things and whatever. Now, personally, yeah, the box office did decline. Absolutely, it did. I'm just saying the very first one, and then that set their mindset for everything going forward. But so you have Kraven could have hunted him down, did whatever instead of the multiversal stuff. But the idea of Kraven as a character is that he can kind of fluidly go in and out of being a villain and not. If you would have had for the third movie, which again, I love the third movie, and I'm not saying I'd ever want to get away from it. It's legitimately one of my top 5 favorite comic book movies of all time. Him being out, and then eventually he's hunted down by Kraven, and then Kraven realizes that he was not the guy, he was a villain, and he was framed before they're going through this big hunt all the way through New York. And you're going to possibly introduce some other Spider-Man-esque characters throughout that, or some other Marvel characters to help him out while they're dealing with Kraven to really show how much of a fucking threat Kraven is. That could have been really cool. No Way Home. Yes, you're correct. But that could have been really cool. Could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what part?
Instead, they do the things that they've done.
And it hurts because, again, he could have been a really good Kraven. He was, in my opinion, a decent Kraven in this movie. Actually, a great Kraven that just got handed a not so great movie to be in. Like, if you're putting a gun to my head right now, outside of the Venom movies, if I have to watch a Sony-made movie again, I'm watching this. I know, again, that bar's fucking low, but at least I had action and some exciting things happening. Madam Web, I had a guy who was looking at me getting his voice ADR'd. And Dakota Johnson who couldn't open a Pepsi can. Like, what are we doing?
That gets me every time.
The R rating was, I wouldn't know if I'd say over exaggerated, Umbreon, because if you say fucker twice, it's R rated. And he also was setting bear traps on people's heads and slitting throats and spraying blood. So it was
for that reason alone, like what I like about this movie having the R rating is it gave them the freedom to let Kraven be Kraven.
Yeah.
I just don't think the R rating in and of itself is enough to say this movie is good, I recommend it.
No, absolutely not. And was I excited to see a little bit more? No, but I wasn't going to tell people this one's going to be good. Like, that was another one where, speaking of Batman again, how the Arkham Knight game got a regularly teen rating. It got an adult rating. And everyone's like, oh man, it's going to be so good now. These Arkham games that have sold millions and millions of copies that were fantastic till now this one's going to be better because it's R rated. I will never in my life understand how anyone goes into a movie other than the fact that it's meant to have people being killed in it and then goes, it's R rated, it's better. How does that, the rating alone, do that? Umbreon, you have to understand what is committing. They had a guy kill people and they showed blood. I don't understand what committing is in that part. If you have an R rating, you have an R rating. I don't think you need to be spraying blood the entire time to get an R rating. It's still an R rating. I don't know what commitment is there. They had him kill people throughout the entire film in pretty bloody ways. It's just you had a lot of talking in between the killing, but yeah.
There's a character that we haven't talked about yet, and that in and of itself could be a negative. How do you feel about Calypso?
Oh, how she was there to be, I'm a lawyer, but I'm also really good with a bow because of summer camp. I don't know what else to give you there.
I mean, no disrespect to Ariana DeBose, who is a really good actress and
Yeah,
was like great in West Side Story, but yeah, she is given like literally nothing to do
this is what.
except for that one awesome kill.
This is where my problem with superhero movies and mostly lie in when I hear people complain about things. Hey, Mike, what did everyone complain about in Spider-Man 3?
Too many villains.
Too many villains. Hey, how many villains are in Captain America the Winter Soldier?
I want to say at least like 3 or 4.
There's like 6. If you count every villainous character, there's like 6 or 7. What do people regard the Winter Soldier as? One of the best Marvel movies ever made?
That goes back to my other thing.
It's almost like the writing's more important than the amount of characters that you have.
You still haven't seen the Penguin, correct?
No, I haven't. I need to.
Okay, so I kind of got into it with a friend of mine on Twitter, um, about why Sony's movies are not good and why I'm like genuinely looking forward to the Clayface movie that's coming out, pending whoever is directing. It's not the
I cooked on one thing, yeah.
it's not the fact that the villain is the protagonist, because
He's still a piece of shit.
yeah, like the Penguin is like I like other than Shogun, I think it's like probably the best show of the year.
Mhm.
But like if that can be as good as it is, there's no excuse for why Kraven can't be even half as good.
Yeah, because here's the thing. You focus on a character where a bunch of stuff was set up and they went, I bet we could make something out of that character. And then they sat down and they put really hard about it. And they didn't just go, grab a character, we'll make a show. They probably, while making the Batman, went, the Penguin's got enough going on to where we can do something. It's got enough going on to where we can do something. And then they made something out of it, which is how you should do things with projects if you're going to do side spin-off stuff. So like Knuckles. You got enough out of that. Was it something that made a lot of plot forward motion? No, it was good. Say what you want about Joker, but I respect what they do. Yeah, the Joker is one of those things where the plot line's built in there. It's been there for forever.
Mm-hmm.
Take the Joker, one bad day, sprinkle a little Taxi Driver in there, and you got the movie. You just have to write it well. That was the most bog standard basic bitch idea ever. They just wrote it good. Ergo, when the sequel happens and the story's ass because they had to come up with something that wasn't there originally and they had to force them into it, it sucked. But yeah, if you have the idea, don't just go, hey, I need you to make something about something, but I don't know that character. Come up with something. Like, the only guy who's somewhat good with that is James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, he's the only one that can go, I bet I can make something cool out of that. He just opens up his League of Superheroes no one has heard of and drops it on a table and goes, well, if I do this with that and the other thing, that'll go because I got knowledge of this random hero that no one's heard of from 30 years ago that appeared in 4 pages of one comic book. And that's just, there's very few people that have the wherewithal and the just mind scatterbrainness that he does that can do that at random.
And this is why I trust James Gunn with leading DC Studios, because he has just like the raw talent of like, any contemporary filmmaker, but he also has the, I know, Umbreon, we disagree on Gunn.
I disagree with you, and I side with Mike on that one.
Anyway, what I was saying is he's got the talent, but he also has like like not just a love for comics, a deep like encyclopedic knowledge of characters like Arm Fall Off Lad.
Yes, but and that's the thing too, that this will be the last thing, and then we'll finish off what we were originally talking about. I didn't have a lot to talk about. He made a statement recently that the DC universe is going to be more like Star Wars than Marvel, meaning it's just going to have stories about characters and they don't always have to connect into each other, but they can happen in the same place.
Yeah, he's
I'm okay with that.
He's world building. He's not story building. He's not
Yeah,
creating something linear. It's like, yeah, we can do something as batshit as Creature Commandos, but the next thing we got is Superman.
Yeah, and they line up where they need to. It's almost like he's treating it like it's comic books.
Exactly.
Crazy idea, right? Oh my goodness. It's like they only meet up when they need to. Always be in each other's faces. It's so crazy. It just might work. Oh, anyway. But yeah, I was higher on this than Mike was. I don't know if there's ever a time in history where I liked a movie more than Mike did.
I think this is kind of like how we were initially with Joker, and this year this is kind of like Matt Kearns and I reviewed Red One a while back. We kind of had the same like criticisms, but he liked it a little bit more than I did. But we both agreed like, yeah, it just kind of is what it is.
Yeah, it was a movie that was just there. Like, it was serviceable. It was fine. I'm not going to brag to anyone about it. Like, my opinion is, if a movie's good enough, I'm going to go buy the Blu-ray. Honestly, that's like a parameter. I'm like, would I spend $15 to get the Blu-ray? Oh, joke, Umbreon. If I could pick 30 minutes out of that movie, then maybe it would work. Not take the last 30 minutes out. Oh, that. Anyway, enough of that. Kraven, like I said, someone make this character be this character, rip all the Marvel stuff out, have him be the son of a poacher that hates poachers, that realizes that not just some animals are bad and that humans are bad, and hunts down people like a guy who hunts down animals. Write it well and you have a good action series. Do it there. I would watch the shit out of it.
I think that's just that's kind of where I'm at the end of the day. You have the bones of a good movie in here. It's just bogged down by Sony's usual shenanigans.
It is. And at this point, I almost want them to just be like, man, give us the script, the actors, and everything, and we'll just pay for the movie, but we won't. Like, you guys came up with the idea that was good, and we'll just shoot it. Like, you hire the director, the cinematographers, and we'll take the crew out there. It's like, we can't trust them at this point. We just can't. You're standing. Yeah, that I'll admit. That line was great. Where's Mr. Johnson? Oh, you're standing in him. Those are the moments where I'm like, this idea of a person is awesome.
Maybe that's just what this movie needed. It needed more fun. It needed more of that 90s action energy.
Yeah, that's what Kraven could be. A 90s action, kind of slightly updated, but with still the dumb lines. Which is not even a dumb line. That's a badass line. Where he just goes and takes out people. And now that John Wick, I'm going to guess, I don't know. I think Ballerina's going to do good, but it's not going to hit as hard as John Wick did because, you know, the world is full of fucking misogynists nowadays. This could fill a void if you came up with something like that, because I'd watch the shit out of it. I really would. You know, people were really sad that his dog died and then he went and killed hundreds of people. Can you imagine if his entire point is watching tortured animals get killed all of his life by his father, so he wants to avenge them?
That you got a pitch right there.
I do. But anyway, all right, Mike. Unless you got something else to say, man, I'm good.
No, I've said my piece. You guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterbox.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Ren Pop Culture. You can find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need to escape? So do we.
Exactly. And you can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero, especially on Twitch and YouTube. I will be back to somewhat regular streaming this week. Anyone who watches me stream and I don't show up for like a week, it's because I've been on and off going to the other side of the country to help train at the plant that we're opening up for the window manufacturer that I work for. So I'm kind of just in and out on a moment's notice. So I apologize for anyone who watches me stream regularly. That has been the reason why I haven't been around. Until next time, we will see you all later. Bye.